every day in partnership with the Department of Environmental Quality and Sustainability. So just a few housekeeping things. You will be muted and your cameras will be turned off during the presentation. However, if you have any comments or any questions, please feel free to put those in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Nedra to introduce our speaker and tell a little bit more about what her department does. Thank you so much, Nedra.
Thank you, Vanessa. Good afternoon, everyone. Once again, we're bringing you another great program. My name is Nedra Richard Morgan, and I work for the Office of Environmental Quality and Sustainability. Our division is one of 70 city departments and divisions, and our day-to-day focus is on the environment and activities, processes, programs, and major plans such as the Comprehensive Environmental Climate Action Plan, also known as CCAP. Our topics range from A to Z, air quality to green living to zero waste. For example, under the topic of green living and air quality, the City of Dallas is working to implement the first urban forest master plan. And you will be hearing more about it in the months ahead. Dallas is home to the largest urban bottomland hardwood forest in America, 6,200-acre Great Trinity Forest. There are larger forests in the US, but this one is entirely within the boundaries of our city limits. Trees can be some of the longest living organisms on the planet and one because they create oxygen. They are one of the Earth's most important renewable natural resources. Trees keep our air supply clean, reduce noise pollution, improve water quality, help prevent erosion, provide food and building materials, create shade, and help make our landscape look beautiful. Today's speaker, Mike Seals, will dispel the notion that there are not enough trees in Dallas, but we need more, particularly after the devastating EF3 tornado in 2019 that created a 20-mile-long stretch of destruction in Dallas. Thousands of trees were destroyed, and we need to replace them. In our department, we focus on the environment, and this program ties into the focus of urban agriculture, green living, water conservation, and stormwater. Trees and green spaces are vital to our vast North Texas watershed. The hardwood trees we plant today for future generations, and our speaker is very involved in a number of forestry destinations and programs that are vital to Dallas, such as Texas Arbor Day and Tree City, USA. Mike has been a regional urban forester for the Texas A&M Forest Services Dallas region for 5 years. He graduated from Stephen F. Austin State University in 1995 with a BS in forestry and has been an International Society of Arboriculture certified arborist since 1997. Recently, he received accreditation as a certified forester and board certified master arborist from the Society of American Foresters and ISA, respectively. Mike and his wife of 21 years, Jenny, enjoy traveling and being at home with their pets. Let's please welcome Mike Seals to our virtual program.
Thank you, Nedra. Appreciate you having me today. And I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen and get right to it. Do y'all seeing that?
That's great.
Okay. So just want to talk about the Tree City USA program. And with Dallas, you guys have been a Tree City USA for 16 years. So what I'm saying here is things that y'all are already realizing and appreciate, and you see the value in it. So just bear with me as I go on, just kind of cover these topics. And but what I'm speaking from is a tool, a presentation available from the Arbor Day Foundation. And a lot of what I do is show communities the tools that are out there that can help them with their improve their forest and just connect them to folks in the green industry. And so with the Tree City USA program, what we try to help people with is realizing that trees in their community have value, and by putting their urban forests in a program such as the Tree City USA program, they're able to realize or capitalize on benefits more so than what, just everything has value, but unless you actually manage that entity, you may not be receiving the full potential of benefits that are there. And then standards, well, there's 4 of those with the Tree City USA program. And those are simply goalposts for a community to reach so that it can help accomplish its mission. And so with value, trees are infrastructure asset. They also are instrumental in health, and trees provide a legacy for future generations, and overall they are a wise investment. And so it's worth our time and worth our resources to focus our attention on trees. And humans instinctively prefer natural settings. Trees, when people are working around a heavy population of trees, it increases employee productivity. It helps reduce symptoms of ADHD in children. It decreases crime, and it's been found to ease stress and anxiety in folks. As far as economics, trees increase property value, and treed streets are more frequently and visited longer for shopping. So when people are going out and shopping an area, they're more apt to visit stores with trees along the streets. With trees along the streets, and they're prone to shop there, spend more time in the shop. So that's good news to the folks with the shops in the squares and those associations that cater to shop owners. And shoppers spend more for goods and for parking their cars in those places also. And that's these are all studies that have been looked at. And another item that folks looked at, they've been able to quantify that say 100 trees planted is the equivalent to, or 100 mature trees is equivalent to 1,000 air conditioners. They cool the environment down as much as 1,000 air conditioners would. And so I have a bit of a background in refrigeration, and so I was looking at the slides, and that really that I've seen articles that talk about that, and how when I talk about tree biology, I've explained to folks it's just like a pump, putting moisture in the air and cooling the environment. So another way to look at this is 100 mature trees catch 200,000 gallons of rainwater per year. And what that means is you don't have those 200,000 gallons running down straight into the rivers and not being able to utilize the moisture there. And 100 trees over 40 years, somebody's thought to do the math on this. And your cost of planting and pruning, removal, and sidewalk repair and things of that nature would be about $89,000 over a course of 40 years. But your benefits, when you look at your energy savings from the trees shading your house and air quality, water runoff, like we just talked about, and real estate values, equates to $161,000 in benefits over the 40 years. And so you have a $72,000 difference there between your costs and your benefits. So you're making money by planting trees. And so the program, Tree City USA, it provides direction, technical assistance, which is what I mentioned about getting folks plugged into the green industry. It just helps people get plugged in there. And so if they're going along and they have questions about what they could do better with the program, there are a lot of folks in the industry who they're just willing to help. And public attention is another positive thing that a community gets out of it, and national recognition at times as well. And so the Tree City USA program, it's sponsored by the National Arbor Day Foundation, but it's in cooperation with the National Association of State Foresters, U.S. Forest Service, and urban and community forestry programs. And the program itself was launched in 1976, and its impact is what they look at is the fact that 135 million people live in or near a city. And so we're impacting a lot of folks are impacted by trees or live in the city. And so if you plant trees in the cities, they're gonna feel the impacts of that. And network support from over 3,400 recognized communities. So these are communities who have already started in the program and talking about the green industry and folks to get ideas from. You've got 3,400 communities, people, professionals who are managing this program for their communities. You can get their resources for you. And they have a conference every year. So that's another benefit or value. The benefits, much like the values, are framework for action that provide direction and systematic management of resources. Education assistance through the application process, online resources, technical advice. So part of my job is providing education to communities, reaching out to them, letting them know that I'm a resource for them. If they have questions about trees at risk, tree inventories, anything to do with improving their urban and community forestry programs, I'm available to them. And I have a 9-county region, so it's not just the city of Dallas. I have Navarre County, Ellis County, all the way up to the Red River. And then we have a urban community forestry council called Trinity Blacklands Urban Forestry Council that is a way for folks to get connected. Public image, quality of life, influence, and desirability. With the once a community is in the Tree City USA program, they get they have their tree program going, and so their trees are going to be taken care of and preserved. So just as folks drive into the city, they're going to see the green, and then there's signs that once you get that recognition, you can get Tree City USA signs to post for folks coming down the thoroughfares to let them know that the people in that community care about their trees. And then desirability, that's that's just talking about how when folks are looking for places to live and spend time, that community with a vibrant urban forestry program is going to be, hopefully, will be one of the top places people think of when they want to spend time or pick a place to live and raise their family. Citizen pride. So it's with public tree care, people get pride in their community. Folks, we hope, start taking better care of their personal trees, and that culminates in more pride. And then also that will help volunteer groups such as Texas Trees Foundation, the Dallas Urban Forestry Advisory Committee, the Trinity Blacklands Urban Forestry Council, folks associated with that, or other groups. It may enhance their willingness to volunteer and help plant more trees. And then publicity, presentation of the Tree City USA Award. That's part of the requirements, is to have a proclamation and a Arbor Day celebration for the community that's in the program. And through this, that activity can be, or through the program itself, public education. So it's ongoing. And then the standards are, a community must have a tree board, which Dallas does, and a tree care ordinance. And Nedra, as you mentioned, they have the Article 10 that they've been working on, and the master plan. Then third, they have a community forestry program with an annual budget of at least $2 per capita, and Dallas has that and has had that for the 16 years they've been a Tree City USA. And then the Arbor Day observance and proclamation. And the tree board may be a professional forester, arborist, entire forestry department, or a tree board. Or a group of volunteer citizens charged by ordinance with developing and administering a tree management program. So you have both of those in Dallas. You have many foresters that I know and have gone to school with. And then you have the volunteer citizens that are part of organizations like the Dallas Urban Forestry Advisory Committee. And then these groups and whoever is in the ordinance is legally responsible for the management of the community's trees. And that's something I look for when I'm approving the applications for the Tree City USA. And tree care ordinance establishes a tree board and gives it responsibilities. It's guidance for planting, maintaining, and removing trees on public property. Provides an opportunity to set good policy that is legally enforceable. Community forestry program with an annual budget of at least $2 per capita. It's a percentage of city workers' salary spent on tree care, tree planting, watering, fertilizing, equipment rental, Arbor Day expenses, tree care conferences, workshops, memberships, and the value of volunteer labor. So all of those are what a community can look at to put into their budget to qualify for the Tree City USA recognition. And a little story behind that is I visited a community and they were interested in Tree City USA, but they didn't think that they met their quota for the money spent, and they pruned their trees and spent about $10,000 a year doing that, but they didn't think they did anything else. And by talking to them, we found that they spent $70,000 a year converting trees into mulch down at the local landfill. And they were, and that alone helped that combined with their $10,000 that they spent on pruning and care, put them in that range that they would qualify for the Tree City USA. And then the Arbor Day observance and proclamation, Dallas is doing this. It's an opportunity to inform and engage the broader community through tree planting, award ceremony, and education. And those things, if for me, sometimes I have a hard time coming up with ideas for that. And we have a lot of items on our urban community forestry website that can help folks with that. But this is your City of Dallas proclamation, and we make sure it gets signed by the mayor and dated to qualify each year for the Tree City USA. And like I said, we have a page that's dedicated to Arbor Day on our Urban Community Forestry web page within the Texas A&M Forest Service website. And that link is available at the top of the slide there. They talk about tree planting activities for the kids, learning tree activities. They even we have an app called Tree Trails that we this year we encourage folks to do to have a competition on creating trails and putting trees using their phone, and they can create a trail using GPS and utilizing that app. And then also with Arbor Day, Texas Arbor Day has gone virtual with COVID, and so we do we choose cities apply for the to do host Texas Arbor Day, and we do the event from there and we broadcast that, but then we also broadcast from satellite communities and enter the Arbor Day virtual celebration. And so that's been something that we've been doing for the last 2 years to kind of to just get the word out there and make it a interactive event for folks. And another activity usually a lot of communities, when they do an Arbor Day celebration, that's they have a tree planting incorporated along with that. And we have on our website, it's a Texas Tree Planting Guide, and this is a useful tool that people can get into. They can choose the Express Tree Selector, Custom Tree Selector. And if they just want information and videos on tree planting and care, they can find it here on this Texas Tree Planting Guide. And the steps to become a Tree City USA, they meet the 4 standards and they complete and upload applications. All that's free. And then your individual urban foresters for the state, there are 10 of us like me that look at these applications and approve them and then send them on for our state forester to sign and send those on to the Arbor Day Foundation. And another component of the Tree City USA program is the growth awards. And I looked into this recently, and there are a lot. These are specific tasks that a community can do to that will improve their program, and then they submit documentation of the work, and then they can get recognition for it in the form of a growth award. So that's another addition to the Tree City USA program that is very, I think is very useful. And it's really neat, some of the projects they have that you can do, just creating budgets and showing your staff, showing that you have staff that are educated, like a certified arborist, trainings, showing that you've sent your staff to trainings and conferences, take an inventory of the canopy and urban forest resources like the Trinity Blacklands. The Trinity, Great Trinity Forest, excuse me, and planting trees and documenting that, maintaining the trees, and just a lot of different options for that growth award that qualify. Another activity that you may hear sooner or later is the Urban FIA. It's a Urban Forest Inventory and Analysis, and that's a program that's been in place for years by the U.S. Forest Service and the Texas A&M Forest Service. We implement that, and what that is an inventory of trees by plots that put out sample, permanent sample plots, and the foresters will come and measure the trees, the vegetation in that plot. And they'll do it in an area. And once they have that data, they present it on an app called My City's Trees. And they've done this in San Antonio, Houston, Fort Worth, and Austin. And so it's just a matter of time before they get around to a community near you. And but this, what's unique about this program is they will do these samples, and they'll come out every, I believe it's 5 to 10 years, and look at those plots again, and it's never ending. So once they do the inventory, then they'll come out every 5 to 10 years in perpetuity and keep that inventory current. And so if a community does that, I believe that would be a opportunity for a growth award. And in summary, we've talked about the value and just being able to realize the values trees give us through keeping them in a program and enjoying the benefits of that, what it has to offer, and just maintaining our standards each year, which Dallas already does. So the juxta of the message is purpose through process. Trees are worth our time and worth our resources. And as Henry David Thoreau said, a town is saved not more by the righteous men in it than by the woods that surround it. So thank you very much, Nedra. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for that. Let's see, do we have any questions? Let's see, is Vanessa still here with us?
Yeah, there's one that asked, I'm gonna go ahead and answer Francis's. Yes, Dallas is a Tree City USA. I'm gonna go ahead and answer Francis's question there. So yes, Dallas already has that designation as a Tree City. And then Jessica asked, about what will happen for the trees that were destroyed in a tornado? Will they be replaced?
I assume so at some point in time. I know that Dallas, they're real. They have intensive management on their trees, and and I know they have budgets delegated for that work. So I think it's just a matter of getting it on the schedule.
And this is intriguing. I haven't heard about these. But Jessica says she read about moon trees, which are trees that the seeds are taken to the moon and then returned and planted. Do you know if there's any moon trees in the Dallas area?
I don't know.
Yeah, I have to look that up. That's intriguing to me. I haven't heard of that before. I knew we grow, when I was a kid, we grew space tomatoes, which there were seeds that had gone to space, but I'll have to look into the moon trees.
Yeah, I haven't taken any recently, so to the moon.
And Judy asked, did Dallas celebrate Texas Arbor Day this year?
Yeah, they did. I think it was a small event, because they're still dealing with this COVID stuff. But I believe that they have had that event already.
Nice. And Francis says that trees and parks are being replanted through the Branching Out program. Are you familiar with the Branching Out program, or?
Yeah, we so the Trinity Blacklands Urban Forestry Council, we worked over near Lincoln High School at there's a cemetery over there, and it's in southern part of Dallas, I think. And we had I think almost 70 people out there pruning trees, taking care, and companies volunteering to take care of the trees. And we had the ROTC, junior ROTC group from Lincoln High School out there helping us clean up a little pet cemetery that's adjacent to the cemetery, the main cemetery. So it was a big event. It was good.
The more trees we can plant, the better, right?
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions? They can put them in the chat. I have one that came up a couple months ago when we had another program on trees. I was just wondering how the ash borer situation is looking for the Dallas area right now.
So the emerald ash borer, or EAB, is what we refer to it. It's still in Tarrant County, and it's that infestation where it's at up there is Eagle Mountain Lake. It's growing, and so those trees are dying, and it's moved. They found it in Denton County now. So those two counties are under a quarantine by the Texas Department of Agriculture. So that's where it's at. We put traps out each year in the spring, and then come back every 30 days to look at that, or actually it's 60 days, sorry, and look at those. But I haven't found any in the area yet, but we check them and look, trying to see if they're here.
All right. So this is a good question. I know you mentioned the tree guide earlier, and I put the link in the chat for that. But is there a resource that shows which trees are available to plant in North Texas that won't impede sidewalks or building foundations? So I guess ones that are less likely to cause problems with.
Well, I tell you, when I first started, I had a lady email me asking about that. And it was one of my first emails that I, sent back to her. So I had my boss take a look at it beforehand. And, I said, I think he said, yeah, all looks good except for one deal. And he added a line in there and basically what he was saying was it's not the tree's fault that it's growing underneath the foundation, because the when they build these houses or they put in these sidewalks, they're supposed to compact that soil down. And if it's compacted the way it's supposed to be, then the tree is not going to grow into it, because tree roots are advantageous. They're just going to grow where where it requires the least amount of effort. So if somehow that water gets down there and breaks that soil up and creates a pocket, well, then the tree will go after the water after that soil is already loosened up. So he kind of put a twist on it. It's not necessarily the tree's fault, but we do have in that bottom section of that tree planting guide, there are a lot of tools there. One of them has a diagram of some recommended distances to plant your trees, whether they're a small tree or a medium-sized tree or a large tree, different distances to keep those trees away from the house, away from power lines, and things of that nature. Does that answer your question, Vanessa?
I think that's probably what they're looking for. So it's basically where you plant the tree and how you prepare the soil versus the tree itself.
Yeah, there's so with those tools, there's videos on how to prepare that hole for planting, and just make sure it's two to three times the size of the root ball, making sure that you're not planting it too deep or too high. You want that root collar, top of the root ball, even with the ground level. So you gotta do that and make sure you water it too. So it's got a lot of good tips in there.
Awesome. So I did find a link for the moon tree locations, and Dallas does not seem to have one.
Okay, well, I'm gonna present that to my bosses to see if they'll send us on these new missions to
get some
collect
moon trees.
Yeah, take at least take them into space or something.
And Judy put in a link for the Arbor Day program. So thank you, Judy, for putting in that link. And also a link for the Urban Dallas Master Forest Plan, which I think is an interesting thing that people want to take a look at. And yes, Jennifer, this recording will be available through YouTube, and I'll send out a link if you would like to share that with a friend. Yeah, some great information. Let's see, do we have any other tree questions? Last call for tree questions. Well, I just have to ask, of course, this is asking probably a parent what their favorite child is, but do you have a favorite tree?
No, I really don't. I don't have a favorite tree. People ask me that, and I just like them all. I have back when I went to school, we would go out and do these test trees, and they would say the instructor, he would take us up to a tree and say, okay, test tree. And we'd have to tell him what that tree was. Well, I kept getting it wrong. And finally, I think the next time, to kind of make a reminder, he said, okay, this is, to help us get it right, he said, this is Mike's tree. And so at that time, my tree was box elder. So, because we had to know the common name and the scientific name to that. And scientific name to that actually is just came to me. It's Acer negundo. So I guess that would be my favorite tree, is the one that my instructor, Dr. Eric Taylor, assigned to me back in the late 80s.
So yes, this would be Mike's trees now. And Judy asked the question, what's the name of the tree that many construction sites plant after they have clear cut all the beautiful hardwoods? It does not grow very much or get very full. I'm not sure which one she's talking about. I know a lot of places plant like things that are quick growing, like silver maples and that kind of thing, but um,
Yeah,
but
I think that whatever they put down, some communities, I'm not gonna say most, because I just don't know, but some communities have tree ordinances, and tree ordinances have a list of preferred trees. So they try to just spell it out for the developer, and so whatever they're doing, whatever they decide to plant, it's got to be, if the community has a tree ordinance, it's got to be on that list.
that's a good thing to know. So if you see trees that that look maybe not that they're the best trees for the area, I guess you can report it to your city government then, huh?
Well, again, if the community has a tree ordinance, then then hopefully I would assume that those trees have been vetted, to be say at least on our Texas Forest Service website list, the Texas Tree Planting Guide, and that's by county. And so hopefully it's at least going by that, if not possibly a little more stringent, because I know some folks, they do, they'll put in the county that they're in and bring up some trees and not necessarily agree with all the recommendations that we make. But but these tree ordinances, I assume that they've been looked at by somebody, like say a certified arborist or a landscape architect, somebody like that, and from the city's planning department. But if they don't have an ordinance, then yeah, they may be able to get away with planting just about anything.
And this is a good question because I know a lot of them were killed off during the last winter storm we had. But do you have any opinions or suggestions about palm trees in the Dallas area?
No, I know they're not planted too much up here, and well, I mean, I guess they're planted, but I don't know. I don't have a real extensive knowledge of palm trees. I don't deal with them very much, and I didn't deal with them when I went to forestry school. So there are folks in the Green Network that have worked with them. And whenever I have a question about that, and if folks do have a question, they're welcome to email me and send it to me, but I'll probably most likely going to send that out to my team of urban foresters in the state and get some added input on as to how to address some of that.
All right. And let's see. It looks like that was our last question, unless anybody else has any. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing all your tree knowledge, and hopefully people will. That tree trail, I put the link to that, the tree trail map in the chat too, and that looked really interesting. As a map nerd, I like to see that. And the fact that people can create their own is really cool too. So hopefully people will create some tree trails for us on the map.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, I hope everyone gets outside and enjoys some trees today with this beautiful weather we're having. Hopefully our winter will be cold enough to kill off the critters that need to be killed off, like the insects, but not as cold as maybe last winter. All right. Well, everyone have a wonderful day. Next week, we'll be talking about green holidays. So how to make your holidays a little bit more green friendly, maybe use a little bit less traditional wrapping paper to save some of our trees. So be sure to register for that session. So that'll be next Thursday at the same time. And I'm dropping a link in the chat here for that. So learn how you can help all of our trees and everything else. All right. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. And thanks again to Mike for the wonderful presentation. Did you have anything else, Nedra?
No, not at all. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone that attended. Thank you, Mike, for the great presentation.
Thank you.
See you next week.
All right.